My dear friends, here with Dr. Thompson Akwo, certified expert in global health, and we are discussing or talking on corruption. Corruption in this 2020 International or Global Corruption Day. In this 2020 International or Global Corruption Day. And basically, corruption doesn't have a one-fit definition by any and all, but simply it is the abuse of entrusted power for private gain. The abuse of entrusted power for private gain, or the abuse of entrusted office for private gain. Corruption haven't been defined in that way affects all nations of the world, all the member states of the United Nations, including the United States of America. Corruption is found in small countries, big countries, little countries, and no countries. And authoritarian regimes, dictators, and other people who enjoy the abuse of entrusted power have increased over the centuries, making corruption a major issue in the global sphere and a global problem, and especially for those of us who are consultants and experts in global health, and with me, global health communication, risk communication, and community engagement. Corruption is very, very important as an issue, because in global health, part of our work is health systems and health system strengthening. We notice that under the subject of global health governance, we look at the health systems and their leadership in governance and administration, and we look at the different building blocks according to the World Health Organization. According to the World Health Organization, that make up health systems. We look at the financial sector or segment of the health system, the resource or human resource department, information data and communication. We look at commodities. We have other related aspects of the health system. But since health systems on their own have these building blocks and these components, or if you like, organs or systems, which must work together for a sustainable health system to produce the universal health care requirements built on primary health care, health system corruption must be addressed. Health system corruption must be addressed. And we see that they are corruptors and the corrupt. They are corruptors and the corrupted. But let us take a good example. A good example in the United States. Recently, before we went into the presidential elections, we heard the candidates, especially Trump, talking about corruption. But you know that before the elections, President Donald Trump had been impeached at the level of the House for what the Democrats accused him as corruption in his relationship with the nation of Ukraine. And you kept hearing pro quo. That is to say, pay to play or exchange of favors, which are unethical. Many of these corruption issues are addressed at the level of the Congress, the ethical bodies, even in cities, local governments, regional or state governments have issues with corruption. Whether you are having the issue of maybe employing people who are not qualified, people related to you in one way or the other and having favors. You know, there are people who contribute to certain campaigns of mayors, council people in the districts and all of that. And they are not giving the monies to these people for nothing. They know how they are going to give it. They are non-profits that are there. They also contribute money. And when they are going to be, execution of the budget and and related issues. They make sure that they walk through the council people to push these monies through their non-profits and their boards. We appoint people in boards. We appoint people in places, that who are unfit. So in the healthcare especially, when we have in the healthcare system where you actually come and experience corruption, it may be institutionalized or related to people or individuals. They are in the healthcare system, there are people who, instead of them going to job, they have this absenteeism where they leave from their public offices to private offices where they operate, and they move clients from government services to their pay offices, pay to play. We have all of those issues of corruptions around the world, and as I say, they are not limited to developing countries, whether they are in South America or Eastern Europe, or the people who talk about China. Recently, we had the accusations in the World Health Assembly and the Secretariat of the World Health Organization, and people talking about the need for transparency and accountability from the Director General, Dr. Tedros, and other people in those areas. So corruption is a problem. There's a lot of fake drugs, and there are people who carry fake drugs and things from America to drugs which are expired, and they take them to the developing countries, repackage them, and they sell them. People who do all sorts of things. And so corruption is not limited to only one sector. It affects all sectors of the economy, and it's related to good governance. And there are some things which people need to do. In certain places, it's just to pay the people well. Pay people well. And they will not be, they are enticed or incentivized to do the right. When they are not paid well, then they start doing things, police, government officers. For some people, it's just natural greed. And so, even when I used to be a healthcare leader in Africa, in the countries where I've served, in multiple countries in Africa, those were some of the issues that I used to look at. And those issues are happening even in Texas, where I'm resident in the United States. They're happening in the different places around the world. And so, as I say, let us begin to look at getting qualified people. Stop all of these interim appointments because you think that, people are not going to question it. We just appointed them interim and people will not come and question. If they are qualified, why don't you appoint them full-time employees or directors or whoever? And you begin to see that some of those things are even done on racial basis. The other day I was watching, in the police department, and I saw that, it looks as almost everybody who is related to the police department, the sheriff, the chief of police, almost every other person had a certain type of color, is from a certain race. I'm not saying they are not qualified, but when you begin to produce and present that to the public is asking questions and their voices. And when those voices begin to speak, you want to shut them down. You go to certain meetings and people are boasting, my nephew went to, is part of the police academy, and, they are clapping. The council person's nephew is part of the police academy. Now, let me tell you, you are exposing things to the public which may begin to make the public to doubt. And then when they start digging and finding out how they got there, then you start, getting angry and trying to destroy and kill people. There is corruption all over the world. There's corruption in America, in Europe, in Africa, South America, China. And we got to do something. We got to come together and try to do research on data and things like that and be able to make sure. In Africa, they will steal the whole budget of a ministry. And people have billions. People have hundreds of millions of dollars. They don't have businesses. Presidents in Africa are some of the richest people in the world. Should ask them what business they have. They can't tell you. Corruption is endemic in certain places. Corruption is endemic in institutions. I know a lot of people, the former mayor of New Orleans, the former mayor of Baltimore, our friend Fatah Shaka. Those are lots of mayors and people who have been imprisoned for corruption. And not only them, governors, presidents are accused for corruption. But we can stem the tide. And we can stop corruption if we come together and build strong institutions work with people, make them to know that there is need for that, and be able to prosecute certain people if need be, and send people to ethic commissions and committees, and make sure that the ethic commissions and committee do their work. Yes, corruption can be stopped as a cankerworm, even in the healthcare field.